And tonight, run for your life. Gays and lesbians in Ghana open up about their safety barely 24 hours after the passage of the controversial LGBTQ law. We hear chilling accounts tonight as members of the sexual minority group open up to the BBC with claims their lives are at risk.
Anyone can snitch. Even in my current neighborhood, anyone can do that to me.
I'm so scared, very, very scared, and I don't know my fate.
My life is at stake. It will be my end in Accra.
There's more unfolding as the country awaits President Akufo-Addo's position on the matter as his principal legal advisor, Attorney General and Minister for Justice says no law that violates the rights of citizens will be assented to.
Why would Attorney General advise that President should proceed to assent to a bill? I mean, the point must be established that the Attorney General is a protector of the public interest. Attorney General does not protect any private interest at all.
And top story, as always, is brought to you by Vodafone. Further together, I'm Blessed Sogah. And tonight, some members of the homosexual community in Ghana have broken the long silence and opened up to the international community about their safety following the passage of the Proper Sexual Human Rights and Family Values Bill 2021 passed by Parliament. The legislation, if assented to by President Akufo-Addo, will now criminalize same-sex activities with affiliates, advocates and persons caught in the act subject to a jail term of up to 3 years. Ghana in the last few hours has been the center of attraction, with many of the members in the international community warning of dire implications for the country. And we know that the United States government is one of them. One of the key donors of this country says the economic growth of Ghana could be in jeopardy if the country proceeds with the enforcement of the latest law. Well, my colleague James Aveji has been looking through the documents and joins us with the details of what it is that the United States government has been saying about the latest passage of the law and possibly what the impact might be on the country. And James, let's get to it because you've been looking at this statement. What's the crux of their concern?
Yeah, Blessed. So, spokesperson of the U.S. State Department, Matthew Miller, released a statement to the press indicating that the bill would also, quote, undermine Ghana's valuable public health, media and civic spaces and economy. It also added that international business coalitions have already stated that such discrimination in Ghana would harm businesses and economic growth in the country.
I see, and they've been instructive about that, going on and talking about how tolerant Ghana has been over the years and the perception, long-held perception that this is a country that is, of course, leaning towards the path of democracy. However, now with the passage of the law, that will be inconsistent with whatever it is that Ghana has been long perceived to stand for. Well, in the last few hours, a lot has been unfolding as well, with some members of the LGBT community in Ghana themselves opening up about how they feel unsafe and may even want to leave the country, flee after the passage of the anti-LGBTQ law. Well, some of them have been speaking on the basis of anonymity to the British Broadcasting Corporation. These homosexuals say their lives are in danger. Listen.
Life was a bit better before this whole bill started. I lost my job because I was gay. My previous workplace, my madam had to sack me. She spoke to me and it was like, I should change from my ways. And then I was like, no. And she kept on coming back with the Bible. She also can't accept a gay person as a worker.
I feel like relocating from the country itself to any LGBT country which is safe for me to live in.
For me personally, I've been attacked so many times by my family. After they got to know about my sexuality, yes, I had to leave them for a while.
I have to count my steps, make sure I don't offend anyone. I have to live like a refugee in my own country.
Are you worried that somebody will report you to the police?
Very worried. I'm very, very worried about that. Anyone can snitch. Even in my current neighborhood, anyone can do that to me.
I'm so scared, very, very scared, and I don't know my fate.
My life is at stake. It will be my end in Accra.
And of course, if you're listening to us on Top Story, the voices you just heard for the very first time, members of the LGBTQ community in Ghana speaking on the basis of anonymity to the British Broadcasting Corporation and opening up about how their lives are in danger now with the passage of the anti-LGBTQ law. Well, one of the constitutional bodies that deals with human rights is the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. Fortunately, we've been joined by Joseph Wittau, who's Raj Boss, joining us on the telephone lines now. Good evening to you, sir, and many thanks for spending some time with us here on Top Story. Indeed, you're marking a day of significance which has got to do with the protection of human rights as well for today. And we're just hearing from a minority grouping here in Ghana which says a law being passed by the state puts them in danger. Listening to these individuals, what comes to mind, and personally, what reflections are you having now?
Yeah, thank you, Blessed. It's a pity that Ghana has gotten ourselves into this situation. We have all sent our signals indicating that Ghana is the beacon of democracy, pushing the human rights in Africa and even beyond. But all these stand unraveled with this bill. I must say that if Parliament hasn't done the people of Ghana any good with this bill. But what I wouldn't say assure, but what I can indicate to these unfortunate Ghanaians who feel that they will fall victim soon is that, yes, if one arm of government has failed them, they should still look forward to the possibility of the other two arms of government standing up for them. Fortunately, the president has a role to play in terms of this bill becoming law. And knowing who he is, given his human rights background, and the conjuncture in which Ghana finds itself, currently as a member of the Human Rights Council for the second time, and the timing of it, we all expect that the president should do something about his assent or rejection of this bill. So it's left to him and what he will do. But of course, we also have the bastion of human rights, which is the Supreme Court, or the courts in Ghana in general, including the Commission on Human Rights. At this stage, if the bill is assented to, I want to believe that it can be challenged in the Supreme Court because there are still issues of constitutionality. I know those who are the proponents of the bill are pushing the argument that, what is the human rights in it? If the Human Rights Council, the head of the human rights body, that is Volcatech, the Commissioner for Human Rights Global, has indicated that criminalizing same-sex consensual sex is something that we should never go into, and that it really, flaws a lot of laws. We should know that there are human rights implications. Of course, they will not want us to think like that, but there are. As to the effects of this bill, if passed into law, in terms of the economic damage and all the things that will stand to negatively be impacted, you ask yourself, is this a price to pay at this conjuncture of our, suffering in this country? That we add more to it?
Well, if you ask the proponents and sponsors of the bill in Parliament, they believe that we indeed need to protect the cultural values that we hold dear to us as a people, and nothing should be traded for that. You agree?
I have always said that, if you have your values, others will have their values. So if you want to live in the international community, you can't trump other values over, allow your values to trump over others. So you should be ready. Are we ready to really appreciate the effects? The signals are coming wide and thick. Blessed. You remember some time ago I spoke to you at some Ghana EU program.
Precisely.
And I raised it well over a year ago. I said, look, this thing that we're joking with, if we don't take time, it will boomerang in our faces. And the signals are coming. So is it worth the so-called values that we're thinking of in a globalized world? How are you going to hold pristine values? What are we talking about?
If you take a look at what the position of Parliament is now, it appears they have unanimously passed the bill. And the threat yesterday from the sponsors of the bill is that if the President even fails to assent to this bill, they'll rally the constitutionally required 2/3 to push this through and to make it a law. Any intervention possibly that may come from Shraj?
I've been hearing that narrative. How many bills requiring 2/3 have passed? I'm talking about vote, not by acclamation. If you subject this bill to vote, I wonder whether you get 2/3 in that parliament, which has been browbeaten by so many proponents to the effect that if you don't go along with us, we will make sure that we campaign against you. If people are allowed to vote secretly, I doubt whether you get 2/3.
In the meantime, I'm just wondering what you intend to do now as Shraj for some of these members of the sexual minority group that have gone to the international community, spoken to the BBC about how their lives are in danger. Are you open to receiving any form of petition from these groups, individuals who will now feel threatened, and possibly what might be your ruling on that matter?
No, as I indicated, this bill is still inchoate. It's not a law. So nothing can be used. This bill cannot be used against anybody. There are still the processes to make it a law, and that's why I'm raising the challenge to the presidency to consider whether he shouldn't exercise his right of rejection on the basis of constitutionality and against human rights. If it makes it through him, that is if he also assents. I know there is a bunch of people who are ready to challenge the constitutionality of this bill before Parliament. Before the Supreme Court. So it's early days yet. I would advise them they should hold on. Whilst all these things are working out, I have the confidence that somewhere along the line something will give. Because you see, we cannot just use principle of our cultural values and throw all of us under the bus. We need to be very careful as a people.
Well, Mr. Witala, I'd want to plead with you to spare us a few more minutes. We've been joined by Sam George, who's also one of the proponents and sponsors of the bill in Parliament. And there's an appeal from you asking Parliament now to tread cautiously and to hold on at least with moving forward with the passage of this law. Sam George, you've heard from Commissioner Witao appealing to your House and asking you that based on human rights concerns, you would have to hasten slowly on this matter. Would you change your mind on that?
Well, good evening to our listeners and good evening to Mr. Witao. I've listened to about 5 minutes of your conversation with him, and I'm glad when you asked him the question of human rights. Mr. Witao could not point out to you any portion of the Ghanaian constitution. And Mr. Witao has a job because of the Ghanaian constitution. Shraj is a creation of the Ghanaian constitution, not any international constitution or international treaty. So he must bear in mind, so when he speaks in a manner that is even prejudicial before a matter could come to him, he will not be fit to sit on any matter involving this bill.
But he's asking a question that you weigh the
Ivan,
cost.
if you allowed him speak, allow me speak, please.
Yeah, right.
His position on this bill, from presenting memoranda against the bill all the way to public advocacy against the bill, makes him unfit to sit as Commissioner of Shraj on any petition that will come there, because he's already prejudiced. One. Two, his argument on human rights on this network is that some international human rights person said that sexual preference is a human right. He didn't state what law that person used and whether that law takes precedence over the constitution that created Shraj, that gave him a job. And will Mr. Whittal have the confidence to go and sit before his lovely mother or auntie and tell them that our Ghanaian customary values with which he was brought up are subservient to European values? Look, let us
I
not
guess
allow our education make us stooges to cultural imperialism.
And to be fair, I mean, this is not, this is a dispassionate conversation, I guess. Just
I'm having a very dispassionate conversation, Ivan. I'm stating facts.
Yes. So let's get to it then, because his concerns are not out of a vacuum. You look at, for instance, the statement that was released today by the U.S. State Department, pointing out possibly what the implications will be for our economy. They say there'll be a dire consequence for the economic growth of this country. You agree that Ghana is not an island.
Don't
agree.
even proceed. You see, it is this cultural imperialism that persons in Ghana who ought to know better are falling for whatever consideration. It is absolute bollocks coming from the U.S. State Department. The U.S. State Department said just last 2 weeks, issued a statement that they would not intervene in the local affairs of states when they were being asked to intervene in Israel and stop the Israeli government from its actions in the Middle East. They said they could not intervene in the affairs of a sovereign state. Why? Is Ghana a colony of the United States? But when you have persons who should know better, acting as though they are still under colonial rule, you would empower persons in the U.S. State Department to have the effrontery to want to issue a statement when the sovereign parliament of Ghana has taken a decision. Why? When the U.S. Congress passed a law that made polygamy illegal, and Mr. Whittal and his opponents to our bill state what danger polygamy constitutes to humanity, but America is jailing people. Have they, as so-called human rights persons, spoken against that infringement? He speaks about Ghana being on the Human Rights Council. Is America not on the Human Rights Council? When was the last time Ghana carried out an execution of a human being? The U.S. carried out executions this year, of its citizens. And that is not a human rights violation. If we want to take a lecture in human rights, the last place we should be taking it from is the United States. They are the biggest abusers of human rights.
I get the point, but now you
so
have...
the U.S. State Department to mind this business. And Evans, let me just make one last point on the U.S. State Department. They said same about Uganda. I don't know if you've seen the EIU, Economics Intelligence Unit report for 2024 on African countries. Uganda's economy is poised to be the 6th fastest growing in Africa this year. 6th fastest growing in Africa this year.
I get all
of that. Is America not doing business with countries in the Middle East?
I see. But the question now is about, if you are doubting, of course, or a skeptic of globalization, we're now seeing, Ghanaians themselves coming out to speak. Those of them that now say they are part of the LGBTQ sexual minority group in Ghana. The BBC has put out a video with some Ghanaians, I was just playing that, raising concerns about how now they are living in danger simply because of what you've done in Parliament. You're not concerned about a fellow Ghanaian who is gay?
These are a bunch of opportunists who are visa seekers. If the US and the UK and Europe think that they love them so much for their perversion. The U.S. ambassador said some of the best people she's ever met and professionals are gay people. They are free to take them away. We will not sell our cultural values. Look, Evan, and we should be critical as media persons. We need to be able to hold people to strict proof. The BBC may be carrying out their cultural imperialism agenda, but here in Ghana, how is it that a bill that was approved by Parliament yesterday has not even been transmitted to the president? How can that constitute a threat to people overnight? What evidence? Why? Does it mean anybody who just wakes up and makes claims, we run with them? What evidence? Look, listen. This same individual.
George, are you doubting the existence of the sexual minority group in Ghana?
I am saying that there is no evidence of violence against anybody on the basis of this bill. When they appeared before the Committee of Parliament, the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, they made claims even to the effect that in court they were being victimized. The committee chairman demanded that they should bring the name of the case, the title of the case, so that Parliament would investigate that matter. It's been 2 years. They've not been able to bring the name of the case because no such case exists. Even when you were employed or when anybody is employed in multimedia, when you go before HR and the interview panel, do they ask you your sexual orientation? Is it not your qualification that you are asked? So all this talk about being victimized in the workplace, they should show us evidence of it. And there's a labor act in Ghana that deals with such discrimination. So let us not entertain jokers, for want of a better phrase, jokers and visa seekers who want to latch on this and latch on the gullibility of cultural imperialists to claim that there's a problem in Ghana.
I see.
Those of us who hold our cultural values high will stay here in Ghana, fix our country, and make it work.
Okay, and let's hear from Mr. Whittal, who's, of course, in the next 24 hours, your outfit will be, of course, celebrating a day for no discrimination or zero discrimination, which will be marked tomorrow. Of course, you've issued a statement out already indicating that no person should be discriminated against and that, the state must take steps to protect the rights of all individuals. Listening to what Sam George is saying, it appears they do not have that patience to hasten slowly on this bill.
Well, unfortunately, Sam George and his colleagues, the proponents, are easy. They easily attack people who have a contrary view. But let all opinions in a democracy be heard. The point is that the theories he has raised are not issues that we should. That should. If you look at discrimination, you know why they can't come out. The evidence is chairman was asking them to submit. How can they come out with evidence, knowing very well that they will be stigmatized? They will be, these are people who are living in shadow. How can they give the evidence and put themselves out there? Sometimes let's be realistic. I work with these people and I know the way they are suffering. So how do you say it's about our culture? Are they not Ghanaians too? They went somewhere and got this. You know that traditionally all over, since long before Sam George was born, there have been homosexuals in Ghana. This is part of our tradition. We can't just get up and throw them out and say, we don't need them, we need our culture. Your culture gave birth to these people. You need to protect them as well. Let's be careful. It's not about cultural imperialism. This is typical Ghanaian products. Let's be careful.
I'm just wondering what you intend to do if the president then gives his assent to this bill. Will you join civil society, which is now threatening that they may head to the Supreme Court over this matter? Are you willing to go that extent?
It's early days yet, but I can imagine that we will be close to joining such groups or even taking the lead.
And I'm grateful for spending some time with us tonight on Top Story. And that's Commissioner of Shrach, Joseph Whittal, sharing his views with us here. Sam George, any final words as we go? It appears we've lost Sam George there, who's Ningo Pram MP and also sponsor of the proper Sexual Human Rights and Family Values Bill 2021, which has now been passed by Parliament. Well, the country, as we know, is awaiting President Akufo-Addo's position on this matter. His principal legal advisor and also the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Godfred Yeboah-Adami, says he would not advise the President to assent to a law that violates the human rights of citizens. He's been speaking to my colleague, Kojo Yangsem.
I said that if indeed all those human rights concerns had not been addressed, why would the Attorney General advise the president should proceed to assent to a bill? The point must be established that the Attorney General is a protector of the public interest. The Attorney General does not protect any private interest at all. My duty as the Attorney General in the Constitution is to ensure that bills are in conformity with the Constitution. And we have had instances where I have even challenged the process of passage of bills in Parliament. There was this Justice Abdullahi matter where the citizen actually challenged the process of passage taking of decision by Parliament. Yes, and I on it. My position was upheld by the Supreme Court. And there's also a situation where I have, even on rare occasions, even had to express an opinion concurring with an action that is being pursued by a citizen. If I find that a law is in clear violation of the Constitution and a citizen has challenged the law, a duty rests on me to state my opinion freely to the Supreme Court.
Well, so that's the position of the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Godfrey Adami, on this matter. Some of the sponsors of the bill, aside Sam George, have been commenting on this matter, indicating that they are awaiting the President's position and also assent to this very bill that's been passed by Parliament. Listen to Whole West MP Emmanuel Kwesi-Beja.
We are prepared. Since the inception of this bill, 2021, we've had so many oppositions from the likes of Odigajepo, Techua Aminu, Akoto Apawu, and the rest who stood against this bill, including some advocates who think that this bill should not be passed. Thankfully, we pass it. In any case, we are prepared.
And that's Emmanuel Kwesi-Beja wrapping up top story here on Joy 99.7 FM and affiliates across the country. I'm blessed to go for more news. Log on to myjoyonline.com. Next will be Newsnight.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow.
Great news is here. Batmat is here again. XXL clearance sale. Guaranteed savings. From now till the end of April, the big sale continues. Get discounts of up to 70% off sanitary wares, light tiles, waterproofing, and all other product families. It's the year to get things done. Visit our showroom at the North Industrial Area next to the Winners Chapel, Ghana. Don't miss out. Batmat, welcome home.
Ladies, mark your calendars for a groundbreaking event, the 6th National Women's Summit and Expo in collaboration with Geisha.
Yes, yes!
Picture this, a day packed with inspirational keynote speakers, panel discussions, and interactive workshops, plus our Everything Women Expo with discounts on food, fashion and beauty, health and wellness, and many more attractions. All these happening on International Women's Day, 8th March at the Accra International Conference Center from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Don't miss the happy hour from 4 p.m. with live music, a fashion show, and good vibes. Admission is free. Brought to you by Geisha with support from Joy FM, Enterprise Live, MTN, Frytol, EcoBank, and powered by Charter House. Inspire inclusion.
Breaking news. Vodafone Ghana is becoming Telecel. Stay tuned.
Live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM. This is News Night. In the next 60 minutes, government drowned in over 14 trillion cedi judgment debt as lawyers for Africa Automobile say they are constrained in executing the court's judgment due to massive amounts involved.
And even as lawyers, sometimes we are not very sure how we are going to go about the execution, given that the state continues to allow the amount to grow.
We have details as lawyers reject Attorney General's claim of collusion between state actors and the claimants.
The process of judgment debt for me had become a conduit for milking the state. had become a conduit for necessarily inflicting financial hardships on the state, and some people had more or less permitted it to be an enterprise.
Also tonight, doom saw hits Parliament on the day power outages dominated the first day of debate of the 2024 State of the Nation address as brothers on the different sides, John and Abu Jinapo, go at each other.
For the past 3 weeks to 4 weeks, they've been shedding load on a daily basis. Yesterday alone, they shed 530 megawatts. What we experienced yesterday and what we are experiencing this afternoon, we experienced it for 4 continuous years. And what are they telling us, Mr. Speaker?
We have details from Parliament where MPs and staff got stuck in elevators after ECG also disconnected the House over its 23 million cedi debt owed the ECG.
On the 5th and 6th floor, in fact, I just came in because we just got the fire service people to try to get them open the elevator. And it's very serious. And I think this house, before we continue doing business, we must know the crisis we face.
Stay with me for details on that. Also tonight, police foiled deadly attack on a bus carrying passengers from the volatile Boko town as 10 heavily armed gunmen lay ambush at a fuel station in readiness to launch attacks on the passengers. In business,
Bank of Ghana steps up monetary measures to check excess cedi in circulation as it takes extra measures to deal with the current pressure on the local currency.
And in sports, we'll bring you update from the camp of the Black Satellite and the Black Bombers as they finalize training for the African Games with assurance that they will deliver medals for the country.
We'll also bring you the fourth in the series, focusing on the cost barrier in the NHIS administration as Joy News uncovers reasons some health facilities resort to cash and carry even though patients have valid health insurance cards.
When a patient comes to the hospital with or without the health insurance card, we make them buy the drugs because the price NHIS pays us is way below the price we buy the medicines on the open market.
I'll also take you to the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park and Mausoleum where Joy News and Joy Prime join forces with Latif Abubakar to reenact the famous independence speech by Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in 1957.
This evening, 6 p.m. But then we are actually live on air at exactly 7 on Joy FM and on Joy Prime. And we're having the reenactment of, Kwame Nkrumah's speech, the independence speech that he delivered from the old polo grounds.
You want to stay for details of all that and more here on Newsnight. You may join us with your thoughts and your comment via WhatsApp is 055-1111-997. We're live on Twitter Spaces. We're on Facebook. We're on myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apawu. Many thanks for choosing us. We're digging now, and government is tonight faced with a grim task of settling a judgment debt of 950,000 awarded against the state that's jumped to over 14 trillion Ghana cedis. Tonight, lawyers of African Automobiles say they are constrained with how to execute that court judgment due to the massive amounts the state is expected to pay. At the State of the Nation address, you recall President Akufo-Addo mentioned that the Attorney General has saved the country from paying over 10 trillion Ghana cedis in judgment debt.
The Attorney General has continued in a very effective manner the tradition under this administration of contesting every single litigation against the state and has avoided the numerous judgment debts that used to be given against the state. The Office of the Attorney General, as a result, has saved the country over 10 trillion Ghana cedis. All the evidence is there.
Well, Joy News is learning tonight that the threat is far from over as more cases are pending in court demanding the state pays money for reneging on contracts agreements with claimants. While Attorney General and Minister for Justice Godfrey Yeboah-Dame tells my colleague Kojo Yankson that while his office has put some of the payment of the judgment debt on hold, he is convinced that collusion between state actors and the claimant is responsible for this anomaly.
No, to show that indeed the savings that the president announced were actually an underestimation. The president grossly underestimated it. And it was actually my doing because every minister has a responsibility of bringing to the president's attention the work that the minister has done. And in presenting my report, I deliberately understated the account, just not to raise unnecessary eyebrows and to be unnecessary sensational. But if you go through, 10 trillion is just arising in a single case. If you go through, the savings are actually over 14 billion. 14 trillion. Yes, I can refer to this matter, China Jinleng, which the Supreme Court set aside only last year. The judgment that year, if you look at the figure here, originally, and then all the time, Ganashir, it was in the High Court of Justice, I think in Kumasi or so. The transport minister actually came here and made a lot of noise about it because it affected his account and all. And we took it up and compared to situations where ministers and the also administration would team up and orchestrate and facilitate judgment debts. It's this amount of 352 billion. So that the figures are even dizzy. You can't even 352 million Ghana cedis. 352,662,144.41 pesos. And then an amount of almost $1 billion, $988 million, 294,313. That is it. So almost $1 billion plus 325 million Ghana cedis. So the Supreme Court again in 2022, after 2023, in the conclusion, says the application before the court that we have quashed the ruling given was expressly to set aside the Ghana share order and without prejudice making the consequential setting aside order. And they granted the order quashing all these proceedings. And interestingly, in this judgment, the court actually held that, as we contended, that the persons who had mounted the action even had no capacity whatsoever. And the identities could not be made out. A person who was a foreigner holding a power of attorney, which had not been properly notarized, and who had even died later on in the course of the trial, and therefore could not have given another power of attorney to another person to pursue the trial, was allegedly pursuing this matter. And the court said, no, our contention was right. And therefore, if they want to mount the claim, they must come and properly establish their authority. To date, they have not come forward.
For all these cases, I have only one question.
And then you talk about the numerous international arbitration cases, which the state also has enjoyed remarkable success. And I think that it's a matter of record. For the past 2 years, the rest of Ghana has actually been chasing me to come and give a lecture to their LLM people on international arbitration. I have not had the time to do so. I think this is our because indeed they are quite impressed by the remarkable rate of success and just want us to enlighten them on what Ghana is doing right. Now, $300 million was claimed by a company, Cassius Mining. That was refused by the Permanent Court of Arbitration pursuant to objections that we raised. I have a copy of the judgment here, and if you just would permit me, this is it, the 91-page award of the arbitral tribunal. Now you look at
300 million US dollars.
Yes. So page 7 says, okay, this is actually even under one for 60 million USD. The 300 million is also there, and eventually was suspended. And today, I think the people, after the denial of the original claim, pursued another international arbitration, and we raised various objections and all. I think the ruling should have come in either today or, if not today, maybe tomorrow. And all. And this one that I have in my hand is for at least 60 million USD. It says, finally, look at page 7. The claimant seeks an order awarding Everyway, the Beijing Everyway company, the traffic system, damages which it has incurred as a result of the aforementioned breaches of a treaty, amounting to an estimate not lower than $55 million. At the time of this claim, the interest component had shot the amount out to over $60 million. The conclusion, which you see here, after we had raised all the objections to the inapplicability of the treaty and what have you, the court said, for the reasons...
Which year was this?
Oh, this was just last year.
Right.
It's just last year, or last 2 years. Let me see. I mean, most of these cases are from 2021 when I assumed the office. So it's January 2023, last year. It says, for the reasons set out above, the Tribunal A upholds the respondents' objections to the Tribunal's jurisdiction and finds that it has no jurisdiction to decide the claimant's claim in this arbitration. And they invite the parties to directly confer on the issue of cost. We actually decided not to pursue any cost at all. The most important thing was for us to win and to throw the appeal out, which we did.
All right, now for all of these cases, I really have only one question.
Right.
Are they all concluded, or are there opportunities for appeals? Could any of these rulings be overturned, or have you actually saved us these amounts?
Yeah, most of them have been concluded. I'm very sure that the ones that are not concluded are actually the ones that we have issued writ to set aside the original judgment on the basis of fraud. And indeed, the court has, in consequence of our writ, issued orders suspending the execution of the judgment or setting aside the order for Ganache Nasai, implying that the payment cannot be made at all. You know, and I'm very confident that on the basis of all the reasons I've advanced, the claims no doubt to be defeated.
Right.
Yeah, in one of them, the 10 trillion one, our view is that the amount owed is only about 56,000 Ghana cedis or so. If at all, that's what should be paid.
That's Attorney General and Minister for Justice Godfred Yeboah-Damide interacting with Morning Show host Kojo Yankson. That full interview is available on all our social media platforms, also on YouTube and myjoyonline.com. Well, private legal practitioner Professor Kofi Abuchi, who represented the Africa Automobile in that case against the state, resulting in the over 14 trillion judgment debt that we are seeing today, blames the inaction of the state for the situation.
I can understand the difficulty of the Attorney General as a legal protector of the country. However, since we were instructed by our clients, we have not detected any instance of collusion on the part of our client with any relevant agency. What we know is that there was a contract between our client and the state. The contract was breached. Simple and elementary principles of law. A party who suffers injury in the process can vindicate its rights in court. Our client vindicated its rights in court. The matter traveled through the courts, and as the Attorney General indicated, the High Court gave a ruling or judgment. It was affirmed by the Court of Appeal. The Attorney General's department or the Attorney General was in court. The Attorney General defended the interest of the state. There was extensive evidence that was led before the court. The Attorney General had the opportunity of responding to the evidence and therefore bringing out any circumstances of collusion between our clients and state officials or any other persons for that matter. The court had the benefit of reviewing the evidence and giving judgment in the process. It is difficult at this stage to speak of any collusion which has not been endorsed by the court, any collusion which clearly has not, as it were, been accepted by the court. As we speak, the opportunity for appeal has expired. The Attorney General's Department in the state, for the matter, has no opportunity of appealing this matter. And as the Attorney General indicated, this matter has been on the cards for almost 2 decades. And speaking about collusion at this stage, in our opinion, sounds belated. But of course, the Attorney General has a job to do, and he's fighting very hard in the circumstances to protect the public purse. What I can say, however, is that it does seem that the state has sat by and watched on as a judgment that was given against it has ballooned out of control. And you can hardly blame a person or an entity which had a right, and all it did was to vindicate that right.
Well, we started from 582 billion. That was the original award. Now, where does it stand in terms of the current amount? Over 10 trillion? How much exactly are we now?
Look, I can tell you that the figures are going way out of control. Indeed, let's say our clients tried, under circumstances that normally are not what is done, tried to, as it were, compromise on its rights, and therefore to ask for the payment of what is considered a paltry sum in comparison to what it got in judgment. And this was in recognition of the fact that the amount as it is growing can simply not be countenanced and paid.
And the amount is now 14 trillion. How much exactly are we current state at the last count?
I don't even know. And the reason is because the amount keeps growing by the day. Or rather monthly, so to speak, as it's supposed to be calculated. So as we speak, the amount keeps growing, and every time the payment is not made, the amount is just growing and growing out of control. And even as lawyers, sometimes we are not very sure how we're going to go about the execution, given that the state continues to allow the amount to grow. So even though the Attorney General can look at this as protection in one breath, in the other breath, given that the matter is not over, should this amount one day be paid? The question is, how is it even going to be paid? And even as lawyers, we are constrained to go into full execution in the circumstances of our clients, a conversation we've had with our clients on many occasions.
So that's our current situation. You heard there Professor Kofi Abuchi represented the Africa Automobile in that case that the Attorney General made reference to in that interview with Kujo Yankson. Well, in the coming days, we'll get to know what exactly happens with this 14 trillion and how we're going to pay that amount. You can share your thoughts with us on it. It's 055-1111-997. But as we speak, I don't know what your current power situation is. Are you in darkness? Do you have lights? I'm sure you can interact with us on it. But this intermittent power outages that we witnessed in recent days dominated the first day of debate of the 2024 State of the Nation address on the day the Chamber of Parliament and the entire House was plunged into darkness, first by Dumso and later by an ECG disconnection exercise. Well, more on that shortly, but first, the debate started on a family affairs note as John Jinapo and his brother Samuel Jinapo had a go at each other over their respective parties' record in the energy sector. Minority spokesperson on Mines and Energy, John Jinapo, spent a considerable amount of his debate time to berate the government for the current power outages. Listen.
The MPP has lost its way when it comes to the management of the economy. And you need to go home, take a breather, reflect on your mismanagement, reflect on your incompetence, so that next time you have the opportunity to sit in the seat and to administer, you will take the people of Ghana serious. For the past 3 weeks to 4 weeks, they've been shedding load on a daily basis. Yesterday alone, they shed 530 megawatts. This afternoon, exactly 12 o'clock, the lights went off. That is why people are stuck in the elevator. Yes. And you still have the temerity to tell us that the lights are on. Mr. Speaker, that cannot be the case.
Well, his brother Samuel Abujinapo will have none of that, taking on what he said was NDC's abysmal Dumso record. According to the lands minister, while he admits the current outages are inconveniencing, it is better than what the NDC took Ghanaians through between 2013 and 2017.
For 4 years, the Honorable John Jinapo, Member of Parliament for Yape Kosogo, talks about lights going off yesterday and talks about lights going off this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, lights went off yesterday. That is correct. Lights went off this afternoon. That is correct. Ghanaians went through inconveniences yesterday. That is correct. They will go through inconveniences as a result of lights off this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, that is correct. But Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians certainly do not have a short memory. They do not have a short memory. For 4 years, what we experienced yesterday and what we are experiencing this afternoon, we experienced it for 4 continuous years. And what are they telling us, Mr. Speaker? Where are we beginning the comparison from? A comparison of Dumso, of yesterday, of today, of 48 hours, as opposed to 4 good years.
So that's how it went down at the beginning of the debate of the State of the Nation address on that Dumso note, where there was a power outage on the floor in Parliament and then the entire House was also plunged in darkness. Then there was a disconnection exercise. Let's get all the details from our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kweku Asante. So, Kweku, Parliament itself has not been spared by these outages. Tell us what happened on the floor as the debate was going on.
Well, Emefa, it was a bit surprising. And I mean, long before we heard from these two brothers, we had heard from Abino Siasari, who would hear a bit while in this news item. But then she had spoken about how the light had been kept on by the government of President Akufo-Addo. Just when she concluded on that note of talking about how government had kept the light on, the light went off in the House and MPs were left shocked.
Dumso, 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 Dumso.
But Kweku, I'm wondering, if the lights went off, how did they get their microphones on and they were shouting Dumso, Dumso?
The people you hear there were shouting in darkness. They have a lot of UPS and other systems
that
ensures that even though the lights have gone off, it will take a little time before the microphones and other set key gadgets that are on the floor actually go off. So while the light actually went off for a while, it took up about 2 minutes before the Electricity Company of Ghana were able to restore the light. But even just before the light would be restored, there were even ECG officials who were already on hand in Parliament to disconnect the house because of a 23 million Ghana cedi debt. But one of the big issues having to do with this disconnection and the power outage in the house was that so many people who were in the elevator, and in the Justice 100, it has 12 floors. So persons who were going up and down the elevator actually got stuck. And Ama Kofi-Boa, the deputy minority leader, who at the time was in his office, had opened the doors because the place was getting very hot, actually rushed into chamber to call in the fire service personnel who were around to go and rescue persons who had been locked up in the elevators when the power went out.
Interesting. Well, we'll stay a while longer on the disconnection shortly, but let's focus on the other part of the debate. Well, the Deputy Minister for Finance, Abinosi Asare, you were talking about her earlier. Let's talk about her push and what exactly her arguments were.
Well, according to Abinosi Asare, despite the acceptance that the economy is currently facing challenges, the NDC are simply seeking to drum the issue out of proportion to make it seem like this is the worst economic performance of the country in history. However, she says, just like the president conceded, things are beginning to show positive signs.
Mr. Speaker, as I listened to the president, I felt a great sense of pride. Mr. Speaker, his address showed that in a world fraught with challenges, Ghana continues to show resilience and advance in hope. Mr. Speaker, this he captured beautifully when he said, and I quote, "We stumbled, but we are rising again. We were bruised, but we are healing. We have recovered our footing, and we have dusted ourselves off, and we face tomorrow with confidence." As we speak, we have gone through a first review which went very, very well. And based on that, we have received the second tranche. So $1.2 billion out of the $3 billion has been given to us. And in April, we are hoping to go through the second successful review so that the needful can be done. Mr. Speaker, we are on track to make sure that we bring the economy back to life. So when the president says that we look with hope and confidence to the future, Mr. Speaker, we know what we are saying. It is possible, and I know we can do it. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
And as expected, Kweku, there was a response from the minority.
Yes, we heard from Eric Opoku, who is a member on the Food, Agric and Cocoa Affairs Committee. He explains that the claims made by the President in the State of the Nation address, and even those repeated by the Deputy Finance Minister, are simply untrue.
Every Ghanaian is feeling the heat. Now, the President appeared before this House to present the 2024 State of the Nation address, and he now describes the head of the economic management team as Dr. Digitalization. He's no longer the brilliant economist. He's now transmogrified into another area, digitalization. Meanwhile, Dr. Baumia, throughout his life, has been trained as an economist. He has failed this country seriously, Mr. Speaker, woefully. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, Ghana is listed 6th among countries with the highest debt to the IMF. Top 10 countries with the highest debt to the IMF. Ghana is placed 6th. Mr. Speaker, Africa #1. And now Dr. Baumia has no knowledge of the economy. He's no longer in charge of the economy. Now he is in charge of digitalization. From brilliant economist to digitalization, he's now a computer man. Mr. Speaker, another important point. The President indicates that they have successfully negotiated an IMF facility of $3 billion, and that is going to stabilize the economy and bring back hope. Mr. Speaker, the same government in 2 years borrowed $77 billion from Bank of Ghana, an equivalent of $8 billion, and that $8 billion could not stabilize Ghana.
Well, Kweku, I would want to take you back to the issue about this particular Dumso, that's the House witness, and later the disconnection. We'll be hearing from the ECG shortly on this. But first, let me play the full sound in terms of when the parliamentarians were chanting the Dumso, and what the deputy minority leader said.
Dumso, 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 Dumso. Doomsa, doomsa, doomsa. Doomsa, 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 doomsa. NDC. Hey! 5th and 6th floor, we have people stuck in it. I just got the fire service to run in there. So it's important we know what is happening around us. The light is off, except for this chamber, and I don't want that to pretend. Some people are stuck in the lift. On the 5th and 6th floor. In fact, I just came in because we just got the fire service people to try to get them open the elevator. And it's very serious. And I think this house, before we continue doing business, we must know the crisis we face.
Well, Kweku, so how was the issue resolved? You talked about the outage itself and then the disconnection exercise of Parliament.
As of the time Parliament adjourned today, the Electricity Company of Ghana had not reconnected the Parliament of Ghana because of the date. In fact, Mr. Huma Jetro, who is an assistant clerk, had to leave Parliament and go to the ECG head office to try and get them to reconnect them. In fact, they were operating on gensets, and the genset is not connected to the entire parliamentary facility. It's connected to the chamber and a few other installations in the house. So many MPs did not have electricity in their offices. In fact, if you went to the Justice 100, you would have realized that so many MPs had left their offices open because they wanted fresh air to come in, and the people who were stuck in the elevator had to be rescued by the National Fire Service. So, as of the time Parliament adjourned today, the ECG had not reconnected them because of the 23 million Ghana cedi debt. We understand Parliament is claiming that they've made some payments, but it has not reflected on ECG's payment systems yet, and that is why ECG did this. So they are still in talks to try and reach some amicable solution. We expect that by tomorrow, ECG may reconnect them if they are satisfied with the payment arrangements that the Parliament of Ghana may make.
Thank you very much. That's Parliamentary Affairs Correspondent Kweku Asante. But thankfully, Grace Gashon is with the Revenue Protection of ECG and joins us on the line with some answers on what exactly is happening to Parliament and that 23 million cedi debt. Thank you so much for joining us here on Newsnight. So we're told that you had to disconnect the whole Parliament House over 23 million cedis debt. Tell us more. What exactly happened?
Yeah, exactly what you said. They were owing us 20 million, but 20.
Sorry, Madam Gashon, you have to reposition yourself. I lost you along the line. You were saying?
Yeah, so I was responding to your question. I said, we have a national task force that is taking a nationwide exercise on revenue mobilization. And Parliament happens to go ECG, a little over 23 million. So we initially gave them a demand notice. We've spoken to them, then we sent them the demand notice, stating the amount they owe, and we gave them a period that they should pay within that period to avoid disconnection. So today, the period that we gave them elapsed, and then we went to disconnect.
How long have they been owing ECG? This amount spans over which period, you'd say?
No, I said that demand notice was given to them for a certain period.
Which period? I'm talking about this 23 million cedis. How long have they been owing this amount? And over which period is the question I'm asking?
Oh, okay. The amount has been accumulated for some time now. It's been accumulated for some time. Yeah.
But we're hearing that...
sometimes part payments are made. So the current bill comes and then it accumulates more.
But we're hearing that they say they've paid some amounts to ECG already and it looks like it did not reflect. So they are wondering why this disconnection happened today.
The amount is 23 million. And I think Tuesday or so they paid 13 million. It didn't hit our accountants at the time we went there. And still there is a remaining of 10 million. Yeah. So that was why we disconnected it.
So until they pay the rest of the 10 million, Parliament will still be disconnected?
Well, that would have been the best option, but certain discussions have gone on and they are ready to pay the rest within a short period. So hopefully I will be connected to them soon.
Which period did they say they will pay the 10 million? How many months, how many days, how many weeks did they give you ECG?
Well, I think it's less than a month. They said it, so it's not up to a month. I'm sure they will pay before a month.
So when are you reconnecting them?
Hopefully by tomorrow.
But it's interesting how ECG is able to disconnect a whole Parliament House.
Oh, like I said earlier, ECG is embarking on this racial exercise. This is not the first time we've embarked on this exercise. And so we disconnecting whoever is going now. Individuals, institutions, wherever. Yeah, because...
Is Jubilee House owing ECG?
I'll check that for you later.
Okay.
I don't have those details.
Okay. Mary Gashon, thank you so much for your time. It joins us on the line. She works with the Revenue Protection Department of ECG, and it looks like there's no mercy for the cripple in this matter. And it looks like they just disconnected Parliament and mentions that they will only reconnect if that 23 million cedis is paid. Well, we've been hearing from the PURC Director of Research, Dr. Eric Obute, on this matter. We can hear him also, the Director General of the ECG, Samuel Dubik Mahama. He's been rejecting the claims made by the PURC amongst others. But we've been hearing this particular issue. We've been talking about the Proper Human Sexual Family Values Bill that was passed yesterday and the reactions that have been coming in. Now it is the question of to assent or not to assent, which is a big question for President Akufo-Addo. We've seen the international pressure mounting, the local pressure as well. So pressure from external and internal mounting on President Akufo-Addo to actually pass the bill. Earlier, from Midday News all the way to Top Story, we've been hearing from the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, his interaction with Kojo Yankson. That interaction happened before the passage of the bill, and he mentioned that he will not counsel the President to actually assent to a bill that infringes on human rights. You can hear portions of that, and then we can get reaction.
I mean, I said that if indeed all those human rights concerns had not been addressed, why would the Attorney General advise the President should proceed to assent to a bill? I mean, the point must be established that the Attorney General is a protector of the public interest. The Attorney General does not protect any private interest at all. My duty as the Attorney General in the Constitution is to ensure that bills are in conformity with the Constitution. And we have had instances where I have even challenged the process of passage of bills in Parliament. There was this Justice Abdullahi matter where the citizen actually challenged the process of passage I think taking of decision by Parliament. Yes, and I on it. My position was upheld by the Supreme Court. And there's also a situation where I have, even on rare occasions, even had to express an opinion concurring with an action that is being pursued by a citizen. If I find that a law is in clear violation of the Constitution and a citizen has challenged the law, a duty rests on me to state my opinion freely to the Supreme Court.
Well, thankfully, this issue, since we've been airing that interview, has attracted a lot of reactions, varied reactions on this. And thankfully, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Godfred Yeboah-Dame himself, joins us here on Newsnight. We are grateful for your time here on Newsnight, sir. So really, my colleague doing that interaction with you was actually before the passage of the bill. So I would want to find out, first off, this bill that has been passed, will it say that it's in clear violation of the Constitution? Will you counsel the President to actually assent to it?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners. I think what has compelled me to grant this interview is actually an impression that was created, that I have stated that I'm not going to counsel the President to assent to the bill. I have not seen the bill. I have not seen the content of the bill. And therefore, I'm not in a position to even express an opinion on whether I would advise the President to assent or not to assent. So I think I found it a little bit curious that Joy FM reported, that I have stated an opinion that I'm not going to advise the president to assent to the bill if it contains provisions that infringe on human rights. Indeed, I made that point clear. At the time we're having the interview, we're not even aware that the bill had been passed. And I tried to refrain from expressing an opinion on the bill. And then, could you answer, President? Of course, I gave a general position. I stated a general position of law that clearly no attorney general will advise the president to assent to a bill which violates human rights. That's as simple as that. So the point must be made. But that is not to say that I have stated that I am not going to advise the president to assent to a bill because it violates human rights. I don't know what the bill contains. I expressed an opinion on the bill. In the process of its formulation, I appeared before the committee. I expressed my views. I understand that the bill has gone through various processes and various refinements. I'm not aware of the current state of the bill. As simple as that. So, and the bill itself has not been laid before or presented to the president. The president is there to receive the bill. So I think the question as to whether the president was sent or not itself is moot to start with.
Quick clarification, Mr. Dami. That question that was asked about whether you would advise or counsel the president to assent to a bill that infringes on human rights, was it about the anti-gay bill, even though it hadn't been passed back then?
I think the question clearly is whether any person in the country is in the position to even enact a law which violates human rights. And whether indeed, if a bill violates human rights, a person, the president ought to assent to the bill. And I think that already I've heard of the steps that will be taken by various people to challenge the bill in the Supreme Court. And clearly, we know under the Constitution, the Attorney General is a defendant in all constitutional actions. And therefore, I really desist from expressing a view on a bill which I have not seen, on a bill which has not been laid before the president for his assent.
It's just the clarification I needed.
If the matter goes to court, I will be the defendant, and therefore I will express my view.
That's very clear. But I just wanted you to clarify, because you had raised concerns about the fact that we had reported that you spoke about the anti-gay bill, even though we clarified that you had spoken before the passage of the bill. So I wanted to find out if that response you gave to my colleague Kojo Yankson was in respect of the LGBTQ bill. That was before Parliament back then.
I would want to go on record to state that to the extent that some citizens of Ghana would want to exercise their constitutional right to issue a writ against their Attorney General, I would wait for me to receive the writ, and then my views will be made known.
So the comment you made that you will not... But the comment, I beg your pardon, Mr. Godfrey Adame. The comment you made that you will not counsel the president to assent to a bill or a law that violates or infringes on human rights, what exactly were you speaking to?
It was a general statement of law.
And not in respect of the LGBTQ bill.
General statement of law that, yes, if any bill at all in the country offends human rights, why would any Attorney General, and I doubt if there's any Attorney General, whether living or present, who would counsel or who perhaps had the opportunity in the past to advise the president to assent to a bill which violates human rights. I doubt any Attorney General did such a thing.
Well, with the passage, you insist that you haven't seen the bill, but I'm sure that you've received some briefing or report on it, because it's going through the process to be presented to the president, and of course, you'll be counseling the president on that matter. Your immediate reaction to the passage of the bill?
Well, I've not seen the bill. I've not received any briefing whatsoever on the bill. And I stated that my involvement was limited to the presentation of a memorandum to the Committee on Constitutional Affairs, and my appearance before the Committee on Constitutional and Legal Affairs, and to further express my views on the content of my memo. And beyond that, I've not been involved at all the subsequent readings of the bill. The third reading, for instance, I was not aware. The consideration stage, I was not even aware. I heard of it on radio that the consideration had taken place. If perhaps I knew or had been invited to appear before, I would have expressed my views. So I don't know even the current state of the bill.
Well, it's interesting that knowing that this is something that will definitely come before you, you haven't taken any interest in it at all, don't know the state of it.
It's not a matter of taking interest. It's a matter of being invited by Parliament. I received a formal letter from the Committee on Constitutional and Legal Affairs. I responded accordingly, and I expressed my views. I received an invitation for an appearance before the committee, and I appeared before the committee. And if Parliament is going through its processes, I'm not a member of Parliament. So how would I even know that indeed on so date, this specific reading of the bill will be made? Indeed, yesterday, when Kodiyati and I were having the interview, we're not aware that even the bill was being passed whilst we were in my office. So whilst I was in my office, granted an interview to Kodiyati, Parliament apparently was going through its processes to pass the bill. I was not aware because I'm not a member of Parliament.
Okay.
And I was not notified.
But I'm sure in your hearing or listening to what has happened so far after the passage of the bill and the reactions, both internal and external, what would you say so far as Attorney General?
The reactions on radio did not contain a clause-by-clause analysis of the bill.
Okay.
And therefore, I'm not aware of the content of the clauses in the bill.
So 24 hours after that, you still haven't called for it to understand what is going on?
I don't think the president has even been written to.
Okay.
I don't think the bill... See, the next step after the passage of the bill is for it to be presented to the president for his assent.
Exactly.
Is that not so?
That's true. And the processes are underway. It hasn't gone there yet, I know.
Yes. So how much more the Attorney General? The president is supposed to be the first person to receive the bill.
But you'd be advising the president. So one would have thought that you would actually abreast yourself with everything that is happening so far. I'm wondering how you're going to counsel the president then.
Well, so that is why I would want to desist from unnecessary speculation.
Okay.
Because the bill must be presented to the president, and then the content will be known. The clauses, the special clauses approved by Parliament will be known. I have gone through processes of ensuring that bills that I have presented to Parliament are passed by Parliament, and then on the day the bills are passed by Parliament, changes have been made on the floor of the House. I can allude to the plea bargaining bill. On the day it was passed, we made substantial changes. I can allude to other bills as well. On the day they were passed, we made substantial changes on the floor of the House. And for that matter, I'm not in the position to express a view on a bill that had whose contents I don't know.
Okay. Well, we'll wait. Once you get the full content of the bill, then we'll see what reaction or what counsel you'll be giving the president. We are grateful for your time, Mr. Godfrey.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's the Attorney General and Minister of Justice there interacting with us. So earlier, that interview we played was before before the bill was passed, and he's been reacting to that. Let's do business now. And George Iriafe is here in the studios with the latest. Hello, George.
Hi, Emefa. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How about you?
Well, coming up in business, Bank of Ghana steps up monetary measures to help check excess liquidity on market as it takes other actions to deal with recent pressure on cedi. And MTN holds almost 90% of more than 18 billion Ghana cedis mobile money accounts with commercial banks for last year. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, Synthesis Tanks, and Pepsodent Charcoal and Herbal.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
When you want to eat, just Momo it. Tired of the long queues in the supermarket? Pay with Momo. When you really want that beautiful new blouse, just Momo it. When you want to get a trim and get fresh to impress you know who, Just Momo it. When you need to pay your utility bills and domestic staff, Shani Momo. When you want to send love to the family back home, send some Momo. Join the millions of MTN Momo users all over Ghana and live life the brighter way. So just Momo it. MTN.
Hello, Auntie Araba. Hey, Bugger, how are you doing today? I want to buy Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, but I don't have enough money. So what are you going to do? Can you give me the big size? You know, as for me, I'll pay the balance later. Today, no credit. I haven't sold much this morning. If you don't have enough money for the big size, why don't you try the 120-gram pack? There's a 120-gram pack? Introducing the new Pepsodent Cavity Fighter in 120-gram pack size. More affordable and convenient. Get yours today from any supermarket near you. Every smile matters. This advert is FDA approved.
Water is needed all day, all night. So, remember Syntex tank all day, all night. 7 years warranty. Select any color for free. In no de crack, in no de spoil. Call Accra on 0244 335 168. Kumasi 0505 555 666. Syntex tank. A strong, a tough. Water is needed all day, all night. So, remember Syntex tank all day, all night. 7 years warranty. Select any color for free. In no de crack, in no de spoil. Call Accra on 0244 335 168. Kumasi 0505 555 666. Syntex tank. A strong, a tough.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the Bank of Ghana is upping its game when it comes to the monetary measures to help check the excess cedi in circulation. The move has been influenced by the impact of this development on the local currency. There is more in this report.
One of the reasons that is said to have contributed to the current pressure on the Ghana cedi is what has been described as the excess cedi in circulation. That has fueled a demand for more dollars as some try to take extra measures to hedge against inflation following the January 2023 spike. Some of these persons and businesses are also worried about the cedi's fortunes going forward. Therefore, they have moved out quickly to buy dollars. This is expected to help them protect their investment. However, the situation has been compounded by the payment of more than 5 billion Ghana cedis for the new bonds that matured. This has heightened fears that the current pressure on the Ghana cedis could worsen going forward. But the central bank has maintained that there is no cause for alarm as they are issuing some Bank of Ghana bonds to try and mop up this liquidity. This will ensure that the current Ghana cedi in circulation will match productivity, a move that could go a long way to check inflation rate as well. The Bank of Ghana believes that there's no need for businesses to panic as it will continue to take the required measures to slow the rate of the Ghana cedi's depreciation. It was also quick to describe the margin of depreciation posted so far as expected for the first quarter of this year. But the central bank believes that the expected correction will take place very soon. This is because other forex measures at its disposal will also be deployed. The central bank sees its dollar auction program as well as its market intervention and other measures will help deal with the current pressure on the Ghana cedi.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, Vice President of the Association of Custom Housing Agents Ghana, Philibedu Mensah, is urging government to remove some outmoded taxes on importation at the ports. According to him, the rent on warehouse and interest charges and COVID-19 levy charge on importation will actually help ease doing business. He spoke to Joy Business on the sidelines of the Custom Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority first time release study report in Accra.
In the 70s, importers were giving money to go to the market and bring goods. So when you bring the goods and you are not clearing them on time, then there's interest on the money they have given you. That's where government take the interest. But today, nobody is giving anybody's money. Over 2 years now since COVID has been departed from us. But the state is still taking advantage of taking this levy to recover whatever cost they have. We are, as policymakers, we are pleading with the state to ensure that these few taxes that I've mentioned, if they can do away with them so that it will reduce the cost of doing business at the port for us.
Philip Bedu-Mensah is Vice President of the Association of Customs Housing Agents Ghana. Now, MTN is holding almost 90% of the total amount of mobile money accounts held with commercial banks. This has been confirmed by its 2023 financial account released to investors on Wednesday. There is more in this report.
The 2023 FinTech report released by the Bank of Ghana showed that the total value of mobile money accounts that the commercial banks were holding was pegged at 18.3 billion cedis. However, MTN's financial accounts released for 2023 showed that MTN accounted for 16.3 billion cedis of these funds that commercial banks were keeping on behalf of the mobile money operators. The development again confirms the dominance of MTN in the telecom space and mobile money business. The telecoms operator puts the number of mobile money users at 15.2 million, representing more than 20% jump from what it had in 2022. Meanwhile, MTN has announced an increase in its charges for cash-out transactions done on its network. Documents seen by Joy Business shows that cash transactions above 50 Ghana cedis will attract 50 pesos and a commission of 20 pesos.
And that is a business tech report. Now, Vivo Energy Ghana says it will continue to provide quality fuel and lubricant to its customers. The company says at the newly launched lubricant that has been designed with high technology from Shell and operates with the maximum protection for engine and also saves cost on fuel. Marketing manager at Vivo Energy Ghana, Kokusi Chikan, says the lubricant is affordable and very convenient.
What is unique about this oil is that it helps to reduce the carbon emissions into the environment, and therefore it is environmentally friendly. In terms of the mileage it covers up to 50% more, and therefore it can go up to about 10,000 kilometers with an oil change. And therefore it ends up saving the customer money in terms of the frequency of oil change.
Kweku Sechikan is the marketing manager for Vivo Energy Ghana. There's turn our attention to the stock market. It appears MTN's stellar financial performance for last year, posting almost 4 billion Ghana cedis in profit after tax, is impacting on its shares. Today, it was up by a peso to close at 1 Ghana cedi, 40 pesos on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Let's talk about PM Express Business Edition. Emefa, the argument about the rising unemployment will not go away. We heard from those who put out the report. We heard from the politicians. What about businesses? What can they do to help to deal with the situation? We'll be engaging the Chief Executive Association of Ghana Industries, Sechuma Kwabo. We'll also be engaging Alex Frimpong. He is the Chief Executive of the Ghana Employers Association and also a labor economist. That is Professor Bob Watting and the University of Ghana. They're going to look at the different dimensions when it comes to businesses and even the academia, how to deal with the challenge at 9 p.m. on Joy News. And
what I like about a PM Express Business Edition is the way we break down the business
issues
for everybody to understand. Reason why I always tune in. Every Thursday evening at 9 p.m. It's also on DSTV. We're also on myjoyonline.com and all our social media platforms. You can't miss it with George.
Thank you, Emefa.
Thank you very much, George. Let's do some of your messages that you've sent in. We have this one from Eric Nikropong. The Attorney General fears his matters, and it is worrying to hear he does not know the content of the bill. Indeed, I'm shocked and perplexed at the Attorney General's reaction. And Dave from Chicago is excited about our interaction with the Attorney General. And Daniel Kutuati from East Legon says passing the LGBTQI bill is a good thing for Ghana. We call on the President to assent to the bill to become law. Wolanyo Inakutia says minorities should not chant that there is doom. So in fact, what Ghanaians experienced under the Attorney was indescribable, and so many lives were claimed. We are not experiencing doom, but power outages. That's how he describes it. More of your messages that we can take a look at briefly. I'll try and then go to some of the messages. And Mr. President and his team must stop misleading Ghanaians. He knows that his government has betrayed. Okay, and Godfred Dam is saying he can't advise the president to assent to the LGBTQ bill because it's in total violation of human rights. You have a long message reaction. He should stop the hypocrisy and give Ghanaians a break. So Melvin Erics in Ho sends that one in. And we have more of the messages. I have to filter most of them. But let's do Sports. Musbao is here with the latest. Musbao, what's in sports?
Well, Emefa, we're just some 6 days away from the African Games, and tomorrow the Vice President will officially open the Legon Sports Complex for the African Games. It's been a long way coming, but the facility is now ready to host the African Games. Now, on March 9th, the Black Satellite will be in action in the African Games, and the head coach of the side, Desmond Ofei, says the team is progressing steadily with their preparation as the GA Tours kick-starts in the African Games tournament in March. Now, the team pitched a 3-week camp at the Ghana Man Soccer Center of Excellence in Prampam, where the large majority of training coupled with other technical instructions have been imparted before they headed to Cape Coast for their final preparation. And the coach believes there is much at stake for the Black Satellite going into the tournament. However, he assures the boys can make Ghana proud if they stay focused.
We're in a final hurdle towards the tournament. You know, the last 3 weeks we've been in Soccer Center in Prampram, and we've been working really hard. Now we are here in Cape Coast to train. We're in the final stages of our preparation, and everything is going smoothly. Working in football, there's a lot of challenges, but we must stay focused. Why? Because obviously we know what is at stake. This All-African Games means a lot to us, especially in our current state. We really want to prove something to the nation, and the boys are really hungry and ready to showcase their talent.
That's Desmond Ofei, the head coach of the Black Satellite. One other team that Ghana will be looking to produce some medals are the boxing team. And the trainer of that side is Mr. Ofosu Asari. He's been giving us some updates on the team's preparation also.
Well, we've prepared. We've gone through all the preparation stages, like the general preparation, special preparation, and now we are the specific. And this is the time that we have to recover our boxers to get them ready for the competition itself. We are determined, because for some time now we've not been able to win a big medal.
So that's Mr. Ofosu Asare with full confidence that Ghana will get some medals in the boxing discipline of the African Games. That's it, Emefa.
Thank you very much. We wish them all the best. Now we bring you the fourth in a series of Joy News stories focusing on the NHIS, the cost barrier, as Joy News uncovers reasons health facilities providing services under the NHIS resort to cash and carry system, even though patients have valid insurance cards. Tonight's edition is made possible by Stanley Nibleu. Here's more.
West Municipal Hospital, scores of patients who have come here to access healthcare are not happy because they are compelled to pay money despite being valid members of the scheme. Accompanied by the mother, Sarah Kisiwa has just been discharged from the hospital after spending 4 nights at the facility after being delivered of her baby. She is one of the many patrons who had to pay money for services the facility offered to them. Kisiwa says the National Health Insurance is not simply working. She backs her claim with receipts she obtained from the hospital showing proof of payment.
I have the National Health Insurance, but when I come to the hospital, I am being requested to pay for services including labs and scans. I am surprised that patients are being asked to pay money for services rendered. This is really disturbing.
At the entrance of the Mamobi General Hospital is Rosamond Kodia. She has also been discharged from the facility after being delivered of her baby there. She also expressed shock about the huge sums of money she had to cough up to settle her bills despite possessing a valid NHIS card.
I think it's not working here because they really took me a lot of money. At the place that I delivered, they took me 190 cedis, almost 200 cedis.
Stanley Nibleu with the fourth in the series of NHIS Focus. Now, later this evening.
Freedom! 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 That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. And my last warning to you is that you all should stand firm behind us so that we can prove to the world
Well, you definitely can't miss that voice. That's Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah there in his famous 6th March 1957 speech to mark Ghana's Independence Day, or independence from the British colonial rule. And it's been 67 years since then. And this evening, your super station Joy 99.7 FM and Joy Prime will be joining forces with Lateef Abubakar and the team to bring you the reenactment of that Independence Day speech. We'll be live on Joy FM, and thankfully, Edem Naite is there, and she joins me live with what to expect tonight. Edem, what am I missing?
Emefa, if you can hear my background, you should know that the program has already started. And so you and I are denying our audience of enjoying the program.
Sorry.
But we are already on air, and so we can cross over now. Thank you.
Freedom! 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 That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. And my last warning to you is that you all should stand firm behind us so that we can prove to the world that when the African is given a chance, he can show to the world that he's somebody.
Oman ya umano, Oman ya mimana, Yeni baby ako.